Ek gesels vanoggend met Dr. Sara Andreotti en sy is 'n marinebioloog verbonde aan die Universiteit Stellenbosch. En ons praat 'n bietjie en fokus 'n bietjie op haaibewaring. Hoekom op die aarde is dit belangrik? Doctor, welcome to GROOTplaas and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, in your studies, you focus on white shark population numbers and genetics. Why should we care about white sharks in South Africa in particular?
White shark are animals at the top of their food chain, and they're extremely important to keep the ecosystem of the ocean balanced. They get rid of the sick individuals that they're eating. They keep the ocean cleaner. And without them, we will have too many of the smaller predators that are going to eat too much fish. So we need to care about these top predators in our ocean to make sure that the ecosystem stays healthy.
Now tell me, what do we know about the white shark population in South Africa if we look at numbers? I mean, if you can throw a bit of statistics to us, how does the picture look?
Well, the picture is sad, I must say. 12 years ago now, I did a study counting the shark by collecting photo identification of the dorsal fin, because that works like a fingerprint. Every white shark can be recognized by the little notches they have at the back of the dorsal fin. And once you recognize the individual, you can count them without double counting them. When they look at estimate using sightings, they might see the same individual 3-4 times and counting 4 different sharks because they didn't identify them. So I did this work 12 years ago already. And 12 years ago, we estimated a population between 300 and 500 sharks. And then we combined that with a genetic study around the entire coastline, which indicated that white shark in South Africa genetically are not doing very well. They're very inbred. We have one population around the coast, but the number of breeders is way too low to keep this population sustainable. And now, 12 years down the line, we haven't seen them in Crowns Bay, we haven't seen them in False Bay. So I'm afraid that this population is crashing.
Well, obviously, we've got a lot of species when it comes to sharks. Does your study only focus on the white shark, and why specifically that focus?
We did that work first because there was an opening to work on that species specifically for the PhD. After that, I shift the focus on other species in the hope we can provide the information on the population number before it's too late. We have about 200 different species of shark in South Africa. We don't just have the great white. But the information we have about these different species are very poor. So we need to know how many are left for all of them so that we can manage them correctly.
Tell me about the Balby study in 2023. Can you explain what the issues were and the methods used? What were some of the findings?
So what they did was trying to compare areas around the entire coastline to see if in each of the area, the number of shark was declining or was increasing. So they look at trends. They didn't identify the shark, and they use different methods in the different areas. So they had sighting data from False Bay, Crowns Bay, and Mossel Bay, from cage diving operators and dedicated researchers. And then they compared that with the report from 4 anglers in Algoa Bay, which is further east. And then they compared that with the catches. So the animals killed in KwaZulu-Natal shark net and baited hooks and drumline. And they did that to try and have a national assessment of the trends, which was a good idea per se. I'm not denying that. The problem happened when they saw a declining sighting on the Western Cape and an increasing catches on the Eastern Cape that were not comparable with each other. We identified 426 sharks in Crowns by 12 years ago. But the anglers in Algoa Bay, they reported an increase up to 58 sharks. So if you have a declining trend on one side from 500 to nothing, and then an increasing trend from, let's say, 8 to 60, you're still missing 300 sharks. So you cannot compare that and say the animals moved. And that was the basic issue we had with that paper.
Well, if you have a platform and obviously you have an opinion, so according to you, if we can take a step back, what are some of the reasons? I mean, you say that the situation is not looking good. You say the numbers are declining. What are the reasons? Can you maybe, I mean, what are the dangers that white sharks are facing?
But to begin with, white sharks are not supposed to be predated as much as we did. And there was also a report of orca that have been flooding the news and overcame the amount of shark killed by humans. What I mean is we had the nets in KwaZulu-Natal that have been killing on average 10 sharks a year. We had bycatch of white shark by longliners that often are not reported. We had poaching happening. We have had an overfish of their food resources because these animals eat other species of shark. And only 20% of their diet is focused on marine mammals. So as human, we have been impacting on these top predators. They're not supposed to have that kind of predator on top of them for decades. And the orca that happened was an additional, like the straw that kind of broke the camel back. And my frustration was seeing a lot of attention towards this orca story, orca predation, that takes the responsibility away from humans. Brings the conversation about what we can do to preserve white shark, takes the responsibility away from us. Because we can just sit back and say, oh, but it's nature, it's just orca. Where in fact, there is so much we could actually do to reduce our threat towards these animals.
I'd like to flip the coin for a second here. How should, according to your opinion, how should the picture look? I mean, if it was a healthy environment, the threats weren't above average, how should that picture look when it comes to our white sharks? Should we see them more in the ocean?
Absolutely. I still remember when I started working here from Italy, I started working here because it was called the white shark capital of the world. Rough estimate were around the thousands decades ago. And they're not supposed to be that many. I mean, they're not supposed to be 10,000 or more. But within thousands, that would be already a healthier situation that we see now. Unfortunately, we're being overfishing the ocean, and if you don't take care of the prey, you cannot expect the predators to survive.
I am always interested when people, you know, obviously say, and there's so many of these situations where it's on the brink of disaster, or it's, you know, if something isn't done, it can lead to a disaster or a whole change in the ecosystem. And so, what should we do? I mean, you are a marine biologist and it's your field of expertise. So, you know, how should this situation be approached, ideally spoken?
Ideally. Well, first of all, taking the head out of the sand about the situation would be a good start. I've seen in the last 12 years, we've been trying very hard to say that more should be done for these animals. And I've seen a lot of discussion about whether the shark nets are the biggest issue or the fishery is the biggest issue. So we shouldn't address one because that is not as big as the other, this kind of mindset. And my take on that is that at this stage, action should be taken at all levels. Take the shark nets out of the water, take the drumline out of the water, inform people on when it is the best time to get in the water rather than killing marine life to as protection of our tourism. We can get cameras on the fishing vessel, and there are software available these days that can go through the catches and give a better idea of what the bycatch rates are.
Yeah.
We should get more observers on fishermen vessels. We should have better enforcement to reduce the number of illegal gill nets that are happening around our coastline. There is pollution that can be an issue as well for these animals because they accumulate heavy metal. And also because most of their diet when they are juvenile are other sharks, we should try to reduce the catches of other sharks. There have been longliners boat caught fishing inside marine protected areas. And that is unacceptable. The killing of smaller sharks that didn't even get the chance to reproduce should be unacceptable. These sharks in general for South Africa can be an incredible financial resource for the ecotourism, like we've seen for the cage diving. They used to, I mean, I was one of them. I flew to South Africa to do cage diving with white sharks, not for the elephant, not for the lion.
For the sharks.
I wanted to see white sharks.
Yeah.
Now, they're not seeing white sharks, they're working with bronze whalers. Bronze whalers are still getting fished. They're legally fished because they're a commercial species. So we should start treating this predator the same way we treat the land predators, protect them, take care of them, get tourists to see them alive. And that can generate financial health for the coastline, environmental health for the ocean. It will be so much more sustainable than just getting them killed.
And I must be honest with you, a task like this, it seems massive because you are, well, it's an individual voice saying this, but at the end of the day, this is where the change starts. When somebody feels so passionate about it and brings it up and creates platform, that is how change happens, and it's quite amazing.
Thank you. I hope so. I must say, this was a good team effort. Dr. Gennari, Dr. Amishlag, Chris Fellow, Dr. Braccini from Australia. We all worked together for the rebuttal on that paper from last year. Enrico Gennari took the lead on that. So it is nice to see that it's not a one-woman job.
No, absolutely not.
You know, there are more and more people joining, but I urge the government to join as well, and the public to be less afraid of shark and get to know them better
and appreciate them.
Of course,
yes.
Thanks to your work as well. We hope that it's going to work.
Absolutely. Doctor, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for making time for us. I know your schedule is really busy. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.